Apamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at apamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I was parched. It's good to see everybody today. So glad that you're here, both in Zendo and online. I would like to start out with a welcome to everyone. So for my Dharma talk today, it's about trust. And not too long ago, I kind of woke up to the fact that a friend of mine who I was quite fond of did something that indicated they weren't who I thought they were. It's something that surprised me, and I thought they were trustworthy, but it seemed to be that they were not. So I was really disappointed in them, and then I went into beginning to question my own judgment of other people's character, which was probably a waste of time, but so how could I be so wrong, on judgment of someone? And really, the fact of the matter is, human beings in general, although we have wonderful friends and family, human beings are flawed. They're fallible, and sometimes they make mistakes. I think we all make mistakes. And as I've come to think about it now, it was a mistake, not something that, X them out forever. So it's good to know that. But so that's why I started thinking back, because I got so affected by it for a certain period of time. And I was thinking, gee whiz, can't rely on people. I guess I knew that all along. I learned that kind of rather quickly in my childhood. But so now, what can we really trust? What are the things that we can really trust? Put our faith in. I hate to use the word faith, but that we can actually trust in. It's not other people. So it's true that sometimes, as I said before, humans make mistakes. Out of fear or out of a feeling of vulnerability, they may become selfish or not as honest as they might be, or don't want to tell the whole story or whatever. And so that happens, and it just kind of goes with the territory with human beings. These kinds of things come up occasionally. And so what we can trust is we can trust people to be who they are, although they're always subject to change, like everything else. So again, what do we look for? Surely there's something in this world that we can trust or rely on. So I was going to talk about that, but before I do, I wanted to ask other people if they have a thought about that. And you don't have to answer, but if anybody would like to say something, you're welcome to. If not, that's fine, I'll proceed. Any comments? Okay. Yes.
Okay. So this is probably not at all where you're leading, and that's why I'm saying it. I think I know where you're leading. Because ultimate trust can never be placed in another person.
That's right.
That is just the way it is. And recognizing that helps us to not put all our trust in another person.
That's right.
On the other hand, we need each other. And one way we're able to receive from others is by trusting. And I've always liked Brene Brown's little, I don't know, story or image of it, that kind of like with each person, there's a marble jar. And you know how you don't start trusting someone when you first meet them. It takes time. And it's a matter of like each interaction or thing that happened, you know, a marble can go in the jar. It's when it's sufficiently not full, but got enough, you start trusting. And like you said, it's not an all or nothing thing. Some marbles came out of the jar. Yes, they made a mistake, but you keep that open. It's just that there's fewer marbles because of this thing that happened, and you're open to more marbles getting added.
Right.
And I just wanted to say that Brene Brown thing because it's hard for me to do this, and it's helpful to remember what she has to say about it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
You want it, it's like aversion. You want to just whoosh,
Exactly.
you know, but to still turn toward, and that's one way to do it, is think of the marble jar.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of this practice is that we have repair. And so even if there is some, we'll call it misdeed or misstep, there's possibility. Oh, gosh, sorry, I didn't see you guys up there.
Elizabeth and then Genevieve have their hands up.
Sorry, wow. Okay, so anyway, I just want to mention that the repair is such an important part of the practice, I think, is that when there are mistakes made, we can regain each other's trust, at least to a certain extent. So anyway, okay, so Elizabeth. Okay.
Hi, Laurie. So I immediately thought, when you mentioned that, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope nobody puts all that faith in me, you know? And it happens so often though, where people praise you and I just want to say, don't put those expectations on me because inevitably I'm going to fail you. And then I'm going to be crossed off, you know? So all I could think of like, oh, the burden of someone else's expectations on me. And, you know, I always try and discourage people. But anyways, that was my initial thought.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, my first thought was you can't put you can trust people to be who they are, an individual to be who they are. But then I was thinking of Rizzetto's, I take up the way of, I'm paraphrasing, meeting a person with open possibility, the idea that they may be someone else the next time you see them. So I'm working with both those things at the same time. That's challenging. And the other thing I was going to say was about repair. So I was going to say, but the way I thought about it was, I can trust that the repair process can work with people who are willing and able to engage in it.
Yeah.
So it's a process and it's an invitation, but it's not a person.
Yeah.
And some people can't do it or don't want to. But when that happens, I can find someone else who may be able to.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Bridget. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim, you're next.
So our practice period is on the Sing Ming, and that's sometimes translated to trust in mind.
Oh, now you're getting into my Dharma talk. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You're doing the great preamble.
And that's really curious, like, and there's, Buddha talks about that, trusting your mind. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
As opposed to what someone tells you. Did I just ruin your talk?
No, you didn't ruin it.
Okay.
I'm going in a slightly different direction.
Okay.
So that's fine. Thank you for that. I appreciate the comment. Bridget.
Well, I just wanted to add that when I have spoken with someone I cared about deeply about trust, we concluded that you need to be both trustful and trustworthy. And that is like a wave pattern. Some people, because of their own vulnerability, can be more trustworthy at times in their life than others. And so we have to measure our expectations against, being, I'll continue to be trustful, even though they don't perceive me to be trustworthy, or vice versa. So all I had to add.
Yeah, it's not a simple thing, trust. It's not a simple thing. Well, thank you for all the comments. I appreciate it. So where I wanted to go with that was, with this idea of trust, is I wanted to say, first off, one of the things that I was thinking about was, so what do we have to rely on? So we say every morning in daily practice, we take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. So what does that mean? Is that meaning trust? I think it does. We take refuge in Buddha. We recognize who the Buddha was. He was the teacher. He was the one that came up with all this whole system, the person who wanted to relieve humans of suffering, at least some part of the suffering, the part that we can do. Like old age, sickness, and death, there's not much we can do about that. But the other things, all the other squabbles and things, issues that we have between each other, we have difficulties sometimes. So here he has the Buddha. Here we have the Buddha. So we could have some trust in the Buddha and the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings. How is that so? Well, in the Dharma, I was thinking specifically, one of the first things I thought about was, we can trust the teachings on the 3 marks of existence. So, what are they? The first is impermanence. Everything changes. That's something that we can put our money on. I mean, you can certainly trust that statement. Everything changes. Everything changes. We can trust the fact that, what's the second one? I didn't write it down. Anyway, the second one is there's suffering. Old age, sickness, and death, can't do anything much about that. That's going to happen to everybody sometime in their lives. However, the other part, where the second arrow, where we're just making difficulty for ourselves, perhaps, most likely inadvertently. But we can do things about it, and that's what the Buddha's teachings are. It's precisely about that. The many teachings. So we can rely on that as a source of, we can trust in that. Whether we can follow it, it takes a long time. It's not something you learn in one day. It takes a lifetime. And then, of course, what was the other thing I was going to say about Dharma? Oh, I forgot the third one. Didn't mention the third one. So the second part of the suffering is the craving and the clinging. That's where we get into trouble. And that kind of suffering that we can do something about through first awareness, and then doing different practices to help us stop the craving. So, and lastly, there is the third mark of existence, that there is no independent, solid, or substantial self. Now, that's something that's tricky, but I think we can all agree, and we can trust in the fact that we are not alone. We are not alone in this world. It seems like we are, we feel that way, but in actuality, anything that we do, our actions have impacts on others, and others have impacts on us, and it's going on all the time on all different levels. And not just human beings, of course, it's the whole world that's taking action, and it's impacting others. So it's this big work. It's all connected. So we can trust that. We can trust that. We can observe it. We can see it if we're looking for it. So by observing what happens in our life, we know these statements to be true. We can trust these statements through our experience. So what else can we trust in? More teachings. So this is where we turn to the Shin Shin Ming. Shin Shin Ming was one of my favorite. So I'll start talking about this as you get it up. But just in general, the Shin Shin Ming is so chock full of discussion on truth, and there's so much there that I mean, it's all the teachings, and you can rely on all of this stuff. Okay, so let's just start from the top. The great way isn't difficult for those who are unattached to their preferences. We hear this and we notice it all the time, I think. Let go of longing and aversion and everything will be perfectly clear. When you cling to a hair's breadth distinction, heaven and earth are set apart. The next line, so that in it itself, you can trust that. Let's trust that to be true of when you're attached to your preferences, your life becomes difficult, just from the get-go. In the next set, if you want to realize the truth, don't be for or against. Don't be for or against. It's the same, it's continuing on the same idea. The struggle between good and evil, these are the opposites, the duality, is the primal disease of the mind. Not grasping the deeper meaning, you just trouble your mind's serenity. Again, something that you can trust in that statement, your serenity is, and if you work on that, staying clear of attaching to preferences. It's really hard. We all have preferences for everything. But just noticing it, just becoming aware of it is a major step forward. So, as vast as infinite space, it is perfect and lacks nothing. But because you select and reject, you can't perceive its true nature. You can't perceive its true nature, the true nature. Don't get tangled in the world. Don't lose yourself in emptiness. So again, don't hang on to the relative, and don't hang on to emptiness. Either way, they come together. It's both true at the same time. Be at peace in the oneness of things. This kind of goes back to the third mark of existence, the oneness of things, and all errors will disappear by themselves. Don't lose yourself in be at peace in the oneness of things. The interconnection of all things, and all errors will disappear by themselves. If you don't live the Tao means the way, you fall into assertion or denial. Asserting that the world is real, you are blind to its deeper reality. Again, not choosing one way or the other. Denying that the world is real, you are blind to the selflessness of all things. The more you think about these matters, the farther you are from the truth. Step aside from all thinking. Step aside from all thinking. And there is nowhere you can't go. Returning to the root, you find the meaning. Chasing appearances, you lose the source. At the moment of profound insight, you transcend both appearance and emptiness. You transcend both appearance and emptiness. Don't keep searching for the truth, just let go of your opinions. Again, the same theme. For the mind in harmony with the Tao. Okay, so the mind in harmony of the Tao, let's get more specific about that. The mind in harmony with the Tao refers to the state of being where one is fully aligned with the natural order of the universe, experiencing inner peace and living in accordance with the way, or Tao, without resisting the flow of life embracing change. Gotta do that. Again, acting effortlessly with nature, essentially achieving a deep sense of calmness and unity with the world around them. This is the mind in harmony with the Tao. So, for the mind in harmony with the Tao, all selfishness disappears with not even a trace of self-doubt. You can trust the universe completely. There it is. You can trust the universe completely. Wow, right? How is it to live trusting in the universe completely? Yeah, pretty wonderful life living under that condition. All at once you are free with nothing left to hold on to. All is empty, brilliant, perfect in its own being. In all the world of things as they are, there is no self, no non-self. If you want to describe its essence, the best you can say is not two. And in this not two, nothing is separate. Nothing is separate. And nothing in the world is excluded. Again, absolute and the relative coming together. The enlightened of all times and places have entered into this truth. In it there is no gain or loss. One instant is 10,000 years. There is no here, no there. Infinity is right before your eyes. The tiny is as large as the vast when objective boundaries have vanished. The vast is as small as the tiny when you don't have external limits. Being is an aspect of non-being. Non-being is no different from being. Until you understand this truth, you won't see anything clearly. One is all are one. It's all the same, all interconnected, not the same, all interconnected. When you realize this, what reason for holiness or wisdom? Indeed, the mind of absolute trust is beyond all thought, all striving, is perfectly at peace, for in it there is no yesterday, no today, no tomorrow. There's no time. It's like that in time, Dugan's in time. So, you can trust the universe completely. It's safe to trust the universe completely. And I think Flint talks about it this way, the universe being it's actually the life force just doing what it's doing. It's going on and on. It doesn't matter if you stop weeding, there's going to be weeds everywhere in the streets. If you look at some place that's been deserted, it's covered in life, because it's always there, the life force, and it continues out infinitely. It's just the way it is.
Do you want to leave it up, Laurie, or take it down?
So the last thing I wanted to mention is, so that was, I said Buddha, Dharma, and lastly I want to talk about Sangha. So how is the Sangha something that you can trust? Can you trust the Sangha? I think you can. The Sangha is so important for this practice. We need each other. We so need each other. And again, we're human beings, so we're liable to clash at one time or another, but that's not the end of it. It's the support that we have together, and we create one whole, this whole of interconnected, delving and trying this project on that we call Zen Buddhism, a la Appamada. So that's what I have to say. And so I just wanted to ask you all, if there's ever been a situation, what I thought we would do, first of all, is get into groups of 2 or 3, whatever works, we probably need to be in two, or you could do three, we could do two. Anyway, do 2 or 3 people, depending how it works online. And then we'll just kind of check in with each other and think of a time when you felt like you needed to be able to trust in something, and it took you a little while, but then you figured out something that you thought was true, something that you could actually rely on. And what was that like? What was the thing that you were relying on, and what was it like to have that? And if it had something to do with the Dharma, even better, but not required. All right, so we're basically finished with this exercise, and I'm just curious if anybody has anything that they want to report or anything that they want to share.
Okay. Yeah, I think that trusting takes a lot of forgiveness of yourself, because there's always things you're gonna mess up on. Not that I'm all that great at it, but it's certainly a practice edge. And if I can do that, it does give me compassion for when these things happen to me, or when other people mess up, however you want to put it. So I think it's all connected, and it also reminded me of Thich Nhat Hanh's poem, Call Me By My True Names, because that person does that, that's me too. It's not like I'm a stranger to whatever that thing is that happened. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Lisa.
Well, we kind of roamed around and spent our time, sharing what had come up for us. That's all we really did. And each of us had a rather different focus, but there was a theme there. It was loss of trust, that you kind of assumed you had, or in my case, it was, discovering or validating trust and faith in others that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't have known it was there, if people hadn't stepped up the way they did. And also, there was the issue of repair. Like when trust is broken, what can we do? And there can be grief about that. So I guess trust can bring grief, it can bring joy, and it can bring a longing for everybody to have involved, to have stills.
Yeah.
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 That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I think there's not a one answer to this at all. It's and it probably changes through one's lifetime. But it's an interesting question just to think about. Where do you go when you feel like you've lost trust, or trust has been, you lost trust in somebody. So anyway, thank you for your participation, and we'll go on with service now.